All right, y'all. So listen, I made this video a couple of hours ago, and you know, I just simply been waiting on it to be confirmed before I actually said he had passed away. But Trump has announced that he did pass away. So RIP to the family, and I want to send my condolences to them. It's just sad and unfortunate what took place. But let's go ahead and get into this video. All right, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video right now. Listen, this situation right here, it is very crazy, sad, and unfortunate, and I really do hate that this did happen. You know, today we're talking about Charlie Kirk, and I know I don't bring these type of videos to the channel, especially when it's talking about politics and stuff like that, but I had to, because I rock with him. I watch his videos and things like that, and you know, I like what he stands for in most cases. And the main thing that I do rock with him on is just standing on whatever he believes in. If you've been rocking with me, I'm a firm believer in people doing whatever the hell they want, saying whatever they want, and standing up for whatever they believe in, man. He's a 31-year-old man who basically he's a friend of Trump's son. And you know, he represents Trump in a lot of different ways. And he also is like basically a person who is trying to convert certain people to, you know, doing what he feels like is the best when it comes to politics and things like that. A very spiritual guy, believes in the Lord, always preaching about him, always talking about him and things like that. And you know, I just want to say, man, it's just sad and unfortunate that you can't even speak your mind these days without certain shit happening. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, this is what's going on right now. I'm gonna give y'all the updates of what I've seen so far as of now. Basically, they have said that he is in critical condition, so he has not passed away as of now while I'm making this video. Things could change, but ultimately right now he's not gone. Okay, they have arrested an alleged shooter, right? Now they're saying that this suspect is an older guy and things like that. And I do have witnesses speaking about the situation in this video. But he has a wife and 2 children, 2 little girls, so they really need their dad, man. He's very present, very active in their lives and stuff like that. So yeah, you know they're gonna need their backbone, bro. But basically they did not have security there, which is crazy to me. I feel like the school that he was at or the event that he was at should have definitely had, you know, some security there because of the nature of the topics, right? But they didn't, and I'm pretty sure they probably felt like this was a mature crowd, you feel me? But when I was watching the video a while ago, it just messed me up so bad, bro. Like, seeing him get shot and where he got shot, he got hit right here. And I seen, you know, BLOOD just spewing out. Like, man, it was just so much so fast. And he rolled his eyes to the back of his head. He started locking up, right? You know, just falling over and things like that. I don't know if he will make it. If he does make it, you know, it is a miracle. God is amazing. He can make things happen for you. But sometimes, you know, people don't make it, man. I'm just hoping that he do. But we will find out more things about everything. But for those who don't know who he is, for those who don't know nothing about him and stuff like that, some of the videos that I did bring here about this situation basically describes what type of guy he is, what he was doing, you know, his roles and, you know, certain things when it comes to the political parties and stuff like that. I done said what I had to say. I hope he doesn't pass away. And we're going to talk about it again. I don't know when and where, but I feel like we might be in a comment section talking about this. If he does make it, that's what's up, man. Real talking. If he doesn't, I want to say RIP and I want to send my condolences out to the family. But let me know your thoughts about everything. We're going to talk about everything in the comment section, and I will holler at y'all later on another video. All right.
This new special report. I'm Maurice Dubois. Political violence in America this afternoon. Conservative political activist Charlie Kirk has been shot during an event at Utah Valley University. CBS News has learned a single shot was fired on campus toward Kirk. These are photos of him from prior events. We do not know the extent of Kirk's injuries. The University Alert says a suspect is in custody and police are investigating. Let's go to Justice correspondent Scott McFarland now. Scott, what are you learning?
This was a publicly advertised event by this conservative media icon, Charlie Kirk. It began at 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 12 p.m. local time in Utah. A public remarks, a public speech in front of a large crowd at Utah Valley University, an enormous school in central Utah. The FBI director, Kash Patel, has issued a statement saying, "We're closely monitoring reports of the tragic shooting involving Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University." And the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, says, "I'm being briefed by law enforcement following the violence directed at Charlie Kirk during his visit to Utah Valley University today." The law enforcement presence there is likely to include the FBI, and Utah Valley University has a police force, so does the community of Orem, Utah. But at this point, we're going to lean on what the FBI and governor are saying, that this is a violent act that involved Charlie Kirk. His remarks have ended as the violence broke out there in Orem, Utah. Maurice.
Scott, best you can tell at this point, obviously very early in the investigation and the situation, but it appears single gunman, single shot. Is that correct?
Well, the videos that are coming in, which we are working with our CBS News team, confirmed team to verify, have sounds in them consistent with gunshots, but we're going to leave that until we get further confirmation on the videos coming in. This is a rally of sorts. Everybody there seemingly would have some phone. There's video, there's audio. In fact, to get into this event today, you had to acknowledge that the videos of you would be usable for Charlie Kirk and his team. This is a heavily photographed event, but we'll be cautious right now with the videos we see coming in voluminously from sources at the scene.
Okay, Scott McFarland, thank you. And it does not appear at this point that anyone else has been hurt, again, as best we can tell. We do have video that has come into our newsroom. This is the event in Utah. Kirk speaking. A shot is heard, and then we stop the video here before he is struck, and he falls out of sight. And the people who took this video scrambled to get away to some kind of safety. Obviously, a lot of panic, a lot of fear, and people trying to just get out of there once this shooting went down. Our senior White House and political correspondent, Ed O'Keefe. Ed, what are you learning this afternoon? And if not, what do you know? We can put some context into Charlie Kirk's status as a conservative political activist.
Yeah, let's do that first, Maurice, because I think there may be many people watching right now wondering, why would we interrupt to share this information? Charlie Kirk is a 31-year-old originally from the Chicago suburbs, an incredibly influential figure in conservative politics. Bottom line this for you, to give you a sense of how influential. He was meeting last fall during the presidential transition with President Trump to pick cabinet nominees. He's a close friend of Donald Trump Jr., who was among those pushing the now president to pick J.D. Vance as his running mate. He flew with the vice president to Greenland when the administration was making that an issue earlier this year. And he's someone who has helped rally tens of thousands, if not millions, of younger conservative voters in this country to the Republican cause. This gathering that was being held here at the university in Utah includes what's called a prove me wrong table, where he sits there, as you see in this video, and in essence tries to debate issues with people who disagree with him. It's become a popular production or a popular element of his social media work. And part of what draws younger people to these events is to watch him sort of refute or push back on issues or topics that he may have a disagreement with the person, but all meant to spark conversation and make people think. This is video, as we understand it, that was shot earlier today at the beginning of this event, and this was the kickoff for it. Now, there was reporting in recent days in Utah about concern among students at this university about having Kirk hold this event on the campus for what he calls the American Comeback Tour. This was to be the first stop in that tour, where reportedly thousands of students had signed a petition requesting that they bar Kirk from holding this event. And he spoke about it with the Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee on Kirk's podcast last week, where they said, you know, find it interesting that there's such opposition, but Lee encouraged him to go. So he's a controversial figure to those not in the conservative movement who disagree strongly with his views and those of President Trump, but an incredibly popular and essential figure in the Trump movement in recent years, and someone who virtually all Republican leaders would point to as someone who has brought new support, especially among younger male voters, to the Trump campaign and continue to back that coalition, Maurice.
Yeah, Ed, and speaking of which, Charlie Kirk, 31 years old. President Trump responding and reacting on social media. Here are his words. We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom, the president says. God bless him. Ed, when you go to a Charlie Kirk event, I don't know if you have, we're talking about thousands of people, like a rock star.
Yes, and this was, again, the start of what he calls the American Comeback Tour, was designed to draw thousands of young people to the event, as you see here, again, in this footage that we understand is from earlier today as it was beginning. He is very popular with younger men in this country, with college-aged voters, college-aged people, because of the popularity of his podcast and his other social media work. Turning Point USA is considered the largest conservative youth movement in this country, holds conferences on a fairly regular basis that draw all the top names in Republican politics, be it the president, the vice president, on down. Those that would like to be president one day understand they have to be cultivating this organization in order to expect future support. So there will be widespread concern.
I want to bring in Raydon Desheen. She was at the event right now. She saw the attack. She's on the phone. Raydon, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If you could tell us where you were, what you saw, what happened.
Yeah, so I was clear up at the front. So they had like the tent set up for where Charlie was going to be, and then they had like the cattle grade set up with a little walkway for the people that were going to debate him, and then I was the grate right behind it. So I was right by the walkway, so I was right up front.
And then what happened when the actual shot was fired? Where were you? What did you see or hear?
So I was he was just talking to the second debater. And ironically, it was about the transgender shooter, and they're talking about not allowing them to purchase firearms. And he was talking back and forth with the guy, and then all of a sudden I hear up top, I see Charlie. I think it got his carotid. I just saw him grab. It looked like his neck, and there's just blood pouring out everywhere, and his eyes kind of rolled back. And at that point, I kind of looked up because it sounded like it came up from behind me up the hill. And it was just one pop. And then we all dropped to the ground. And then they told us all to run. So we all ran out.
Yeah, I'm imagining pandemonium at that point. Did you see medical personnel attend to him? And what happened after that?
By the time I looked up, he was already off. He was already out. He was already out of the tent. There were some police officers up there. There was his security. There was no metal detectors or anything for us to go through. They didn't even check our tickets.
What about the gunman? Any sense of what became of the person? I don't know if it's a man or woman. The person who fired the shot?
Nope, I didn't see anything. I just dropped when everybody else dropped, and then I ran when they told everybody to run.
So you described it as a debate that was going on. So it was a debate between Charlie and someone else, or just a sort of a...
Yeah, so he just proved me wrong. And basically, because he's a right-winger, and, he's very, very, very good at his debates. And he invites mostly college kids to go up and debate him. And, a lot of them were, had a lot of the same views, but there was something that may be a little bit off that they don't quite agree with. So they're just trying to, debate him back and forth on their views versus his.
So it sounds like people from all points on the political spectrum. What about the atmosphere, the mood? What was it like leading up to that?
Oh, man, we were all having fun. We were shouting, USA and Charlie Kirk and listening to some 80s music like Queen and that, and just stuff to pump you up. We're just all having a good time.
Yeah, like a festival kind of atmosphere. I want to ask you about security. What was that like as you entered this area? And what kind of area is this?
There was none. It was like, so when you walked in there, it was like a kind of in the crevice of the buildings with a bridge across it. And then behind it was like a grassy open area with a little bit of sitting that's kind of in a stadium seating. But it was like a little hill.
And this is on the campus of Utah Valley University.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a student there, or do you have an affiliation with the university?
No, I'm old. I'm in my 50s, so a lot of these people were college-age students, but there was quite a few, actually, I would say, that were around my age, too.
Yeah. And where did you get out? You ran out of there. Where'd you go, and what did everybody else do who was with you?
We all just ran to our vehicles, and I don't know where everybody's scattered. I don't know if, some of them were students that, had to catch a bus or whatever. But the ones that have cars, we all ran to our cars. I mean, I parked a little ways away, so it was a little bit of a trek, but it was fine.
But again, interesting, as you point out, no security, open area right there at Utah Valley University. Radon Dasheen, I really appreciate your insight and your telling us your story. We thank you for that.
And acclaim for his work among Republican leadership up and down a ballot, and grave concern across the country among those who are supporters of the president and others in the conservative movement, because they understand that he has been such a rock star, a galvanizing force, someone who's brought people together. Maurice, we should also convey the president now speaking out here on Truth Social. Some of our colleagues were up in the West Wing when this news broke out across social media, and White House officials learned of it just as we did, in essence, and headed into closed-door meetings to sort out how exactly to respond. But all of those people, to give you a sense of his influence, know him, would have worked with him, and very well may be in the jobs they're in today, Maurice, because Kirk at one point or another would have said to Donald Trump, that's someone worthy of continuing to work alongside you at the White House.
Yeah, Ed, to call him hugely influential would be really understating the situation. Let's take a look at the video here one more time. You saw Kirk there at the beginning of the event, but here is the moment he's actually shot. There he is sitting on a stage. This is at Utah Valley University just a short time ago this afternoon. A single shot was fired. We're freezing the video here because of the disturbing nature of it all, but he is shot once. The shirt ripples and he falls off to the right of our screen there. And then the people who took the video, they are obviously terrified and start running to get out of there. So again, Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, the conservative political activist, shot there at Utah Valley University a short time ago. This having a ripple effect throughout the political world as we speak. I want to bring in CBS News Chief Washington analyst Robert Costa. Bob, yet another political act of violence here in our country. This was not common for a long time, and now it seemingly is.
Good to be with you. A tragic incident today in Utah. I have covered Charlie Kirk for a long time, have spoken to him at so many political events over the years. This is someone who has galvanized conservatives across the country. He is seen as someone who was really able to gather the Trump movement, especially those under 30, and make them into a force. Now, there have been growing concerns on both right and left in recent years about this outbreak of political violence at so many events. There's that specter that hovers over so much. And what you're seeing in this incident is such a sense still of shock and surprise among those there that Charlie Kirk could be shot in broad daylight at one of these events. What's notable about Charlie Kirk and why this stuns so many is not just for the brazen act of violence we are witnessing here today, but that Charlie Kirk is someone who is very close to the president of the United States, Donald Trump. He is counted on as a confidant. Now, there is a huge generational gap between Charlie Kirk and President Trump. And some who might not follow politics incrementally might say, how does someone so youthful, so young, who seems to be an activist, maybe with a media profile, how does he become so close? Well, Charlie Kirk, during President Trump's political winter from 2021 through 2024, stood by him while Trump was facing criminal trials in New York, scrutiny from the Justice Department. He was there. He's a key figure in American politics, not just in the past decade where he's become this youth leader, but he's a key figure right now in American politics, close to Vice President Vance, close to President Trump, someone who helped rebuild the Trump movement, the Trump political campaign, when it was at its lowest moment in the wake of January 6, 2021, and President Biden's victory in the 2020 election. And if you've been with Charlie Kirk, and I have covered him at length, I've covered the conservative movement for nearly 20 years, he is popular for a lot of reasons, but in particular for the way he's able to debate and articulate his points. He is seen as this major presence on campuses who can go after those who are center or left of center or further left and really counter them with conservative points that people find powerful and potent and not just usual political pablum. He's also someone who, in the media, can be both a podcast force, a television force on cable, can have these huge events with thousands of people. And this is why I'm just getting so many text messages right now, Maurice. It's a shocking moment in the country to have a political figure shot in this way. But really, for those who know him on the right, it is taking their breath away as they wait for more details.
It really is a shock to the system. Robert Costa, thank you so much for the insight. Now, in a statement, the university said a single shot was fired on campus toward Kirk, and a suspect is now in custody. That is coming from Utah Valley University, where Charlie Kirk was shot a short time ago. Joining us now is CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd. Now, Sam, what about security at an event like this? What would you know about the setup there and the kind of security that would follow a Charlie Kirk around the country?
Well, Maurice, it is entirely possible that Charlie Kirk has his own personal security based upon the level of his notoriety and the very public events that he holds all across the country. Because Charlie Kirk is not an elected official, he does not have access to, example, Secret Service like politicians and White House officials may. At the same time, the campus security in place would have worked most likely with the event organizers to try to set up some sort of screening for participants, as well as potentially some sort of secure perimeter. However, it doesn't appear that individuals were screened for weapons prior to entering the event. And so certainly there has to be scrutiny of what security measures were put in place by the university. Charlie Kirk is a very public figure. This event was well publicized, well planned. So from an operational security perspective, any bad actor who was looking to inflict harm knew where Charlie Kirk was going to be and likely knew that campus security was going to be in charge of the event overall, not the U.S. Secret Service, not the U.S. Marshals, and others.
Okay. Sam, I missed it if you said it, but if you just wanted to clear it up for me here, security at this event or an event like this, would it include screening? Would people be able to just walk in with the arms swinging with weapons on them? Or are they patted down? Are there metal detectors? What do you know about that?
So when these kinds of events are held on college campuses, on university campuses, very often, Maurice, it is up to the campus itself to determine what kind of security measures are in place. So we actually don't know yet whether this college campus did implement any kind of screening for participants, whether there were metal detectors, whether there were pat downs, and whether and where there was any kind of secure perimeter. It is possible that there was screening, but we just don't know. It is oftentimes specific to the campus itself. However, based on Charlie Kirk's notoriety, and again, the fact that these events were very heavily publicized, one would have thought that there would have been some kind of screening for participants prior to the event unfolding.
Most certainly. And in this climate that we're now living in, you would hope that it's the case going forward. Sam Vinograd, thank you. I want to bring in Raydon Desheen. She was at the event right now. She saw the attack. She's on the phone. Raydon, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If you could tell us where you were, what you saw, what happened.
Yeah, so I was clear up at the front. So they had like the tent set up for where Charlie was going to be. And then they had like the cattle grade set up with a little walkway for the people that were going to debate him. And then I was the grate right behind it. So I was right by the walkway. So I was right up front.
And then what happened? When the actual shot was fired, where were you? What did you see or hear?
So I was, he was just talking to the second debater. And ironically, it was about the transgender shooter. And, they're talking about, not allowing them to purchase firearms. And he was talking back and forth with the guy. And then all of a sudden I hear up top, I see Charlie. I think it got his carotid. I just saw him grab, it looked like his neck. And there's just blood pouring out everywhere. And his eyes kind of rolled back. And at that point, I kind of looked up because it sounded like it came up from behind me up the hill. And it was just one pop. And then we all dropped to the ground, and then they told us all to run. So we all ran out.
Yeah, I'm imagining pandemonium at that point. Did you see medical personnel attend to him, and what happened after that?
By the time I looked up, he was already off. He was already out. He was already out of the tent. There were some police officers up there. There was his security. There was no metal detectors or anything for us to go through. They didn't even check our tickets.
What about the gunman? Any sense of what became of the person? I don't know if it's a man or woman. The person who fired the shot?
Nope, I didn't see anything. I just dropped when everybody else dropped, and then I ran when they told everybody to run.
So you described it as a debate that was going on. So it was a debate between Charlie and someone else, or just a sort of so
he does prove me wrong. And basically, because he's a right-winger, and, he's very, very, very good at his debates. And he invites mostly college kids to go up and debate him. And, a lot of them were, had a lot of the same views, but there was something that may be a little bit off that they don't quite agree with. So they're just trying to, debate him back and forth on their views versus his.
So it sounds like people from all points on the political spectrum. What about the atmosphere, the mood? What was it like leading up to that?
Oh, man, we were all having fun. We were shouting, USA and Charlie Kirk and listening to some 80s music like Queen and that, and just stuff to pump you up. We're just all having a good time. Yeah,
like a festival kind of atmosphere. I want to ask you about security. What was that like as you entered this area? And what kind of area is this?
There was none. It was like, so when you walked in there, it was like a kind of in the crevice of the buildings with a bridge across it. And then behind it was like a grassy open area with a little bit of sitting that's kind of in a stadium seating. But it was like a little hill. And this is on the campus of Utah Valley University. Yeah. Are you a student there, or do you have an affiliation with the university? No, I'm old. I'm in my 50s, so a lot of these people were college-age students, but there was quite a few, actually, I would say, that were around my age, too. Yeah. And where did you get out? You ran out of there. Where'd you go, and what did everybody else do who was with you? We all just ran to our vehicles, and I don't know where everybody's scattered. I don't know if, some of them were students that, had to catch a bus or whatever. But the ones that have cars, we all ran to our cars. I mean, I parked a little ways away, so it was a little bit of a trek, but it was fine. But again, interesting, as you point out, no security, open area right there at Utah Valley University. Radon Dasheen, I really appreciate your insight and your telling us your story. We thank you for that. Let's go back to Ed O'Keefe. Ed, what you're hearing now is that there was no security at an event, a political event here in the United States. It's come to a point where it seems like that's going to be necessary, mandatory going forward. Yeah, but I think as Radon so expertly described it, this is meant to be sort of a public gathering in a public square kind of event, right? That this kind of violence wouldn't necessarily happen. And she described quite well also how the prove me wrong format works, that people come up, they raise an issue with him, they debate it for a few minutes, and the crowd watches and enjoys the exchange, as raucous or policy-driven as it may end up being in that moment. Maurice, we're obviously, given that Kirk is a character and a leader and a creature of the digital space, it is no surprise that we're seeing pretty swift reaction from all sides. We heard from the president, of course, asking for prayers, the vice president, the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, whose nomination was buoyed by support from Kirk and his movement. But we're also hearing very quickly from Democratic leaders, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who hosted Kirk on his own podcast earlier this year, very quickly, moments after this happened, on X, said that the attack is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible in the United States of America. We must reject political violence in every form. Hakeem Jeffries, who, of course, is the House Democratic leader, very quickly saying political violence is never acceptable. My thoughts and prayers are with Charlie Kirk and his family. And notably, Gabrielle Giffords, the former Arizona Democratic congresswoman, herself a survivor of an assassination attempt and an advocate for stricter gun laws in this country, said she's horrified to hear that Charlie Kirk was shot in an event in Utah. Democratic societies will always have political disagreements, but we must never allow America to become a country that confronts those disagreements with violence, something she obviously would know very well. So the reaction will continue to pour in. But again, I think the eyewitness there described very well what it is that Kirk
has been doing for years now in person with like-minded conservatives and those that want to take him on, and how he uses those events to buoy what he does online. He also hosts a radio show and is, again, a pretty frequent collaborator and ally of the president and those in his administration.
We have a witness now who's joining us by phone. His name is Justin Hickens. He apparently was at the scene of the shooting. Justin, what did you see? What did you hear?
I was about 20 yards away on Charlie's left. I had gotten there probably just a few minutes before noon. There was thousands of people there. Unfortunately, there was no metal detectors. There was there was security by Charlie, but, anybody could have shown up with whatever, unfortunately. And I happened to kind of maneuver my way down close on the side. And the first interaction probably took about 10 minutes. It was a religious-related exchange. And then there was someone who stepped up, ironically, coincidentally, who asked a question about mass shootings. And about 60 to 90 seconds in, we heard a big loud shot. I saw a bunch of blood come out of Charlie. I saw his body kind of kick back and go limp, and everybody dropped to the ground. And luckily, there were no other bullets sprayed into the crowd because nobody was really able to go anywhere. It was just like a big, open pavilion, amphitheater, outdoor venue. And, lots of screaming, lots of yelling, lots of bodies on top of each other. And after a couple minutes, people got up and started kind of running, getting out of there. There were some gates, some barriers that had been pushed aside and knocked over, and people were able to move. And I started to move quickly, and then kind of realized that I said, I think we're okay. And I kind of stopped walking away, and I kind of turned around, and all of a sudden I saw officers walking with this very elderly gentleman with white hair, and they had him arrested, had him on his knees. He was screaming about, his rights and all that stuff, and they cuffed him and put him away, and about 20, 30 other people just said, yeah, that's the guy. That was the shooter. And people had said that they had seen him there early. He got to the event really early, was kind of walking around, talking to a lot of people, just this elderly gentleman. But that's all I got for you.
Justin, no, that's a lot, and I'm going to keep you on the air with us because this is important what you saw. People who haven't seen these events, these turning point events, or these events with Charlie Kirk, people can go up. There's a microphone usually set up, and people can try to debate him or bring up a question or a point. Set up before the shooting, what exactly was happening? Because you touched upon that.
Well, there was. I couldn't exactly tell how many, but I'm sure there was maybe 15 to 20 people in line to talk to Charlie, enough to where he probably felt like it was going to take a good while to get through everybody. And he had only gotten through one exchange with an individual. And honestly, it was kind of getting drawn out a little bit too much. The crowd was getting a little restless. Like, hey, we're talking too much on this religious topic. Let's go to something else. And so finally they wrapped up, and then somebody else got up there, and like I said, for about 60 to 90 seconds, there was an exchange about mass shootings, transgenders involved in mass shootings, and ironically, that's when the shot went off.
And then when you heard the shot, did it sound like it was close, near to where he was speaking, or did it sound like it was coming from afar, maybe in the back of the crowd, or could you tell?
No, it sounded like it was the back of the crowd. Which was pretty wild. I don't know though. It's like it must have been closer, but then again, it's like if it was that close, how did nobody else, see this man pulling a gun out of his, side or pocket or whatever? So
once he was shot, once Charlie was shot, was there any first aid? Could you see? Do you know if paramedics were able to get to him? Was there any type of sort of first responders on the campus?
Well, there were about 15 to 20 people, right behind him, whether that was security, whether that was medical, whether that was whoever. But as soon as he was shot, he, just kind of went limp, fell over, and then everybody just dropped and went down. And I had bodies on top of me, and I was just praying. I was just like, I hope there's not, a bunch of stuff spraying into the crowd here, because everybody's a sitting duck right now.
You know, we sort of all witnessed what happened to President Trump when he was on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania and what happened there. When this was happening, I mean, did it kind of register in your head someone's trying to kill Charlie Kirk?
Oh, yeah, immediately. I mean, for a split second, you kind of like, wait a minute, is this really happening? And, you know, you saw the amount of blood that came out upon the initial shot, and you knew that it did not look good.
After he's shot and he sort of collapses back and people are everyone hits the ground and people are piling on top of you, we've seen some videos of sort of the mass hysteria to run out of there. When does that happen?
I think that probably started maybe about 10 to 15 seconds after. People give it a few seconds, realize there's no more shots being fired. Now's our time to take a chance and get out of here. And so I was a little, I stayed down a little bit longer, and then finally realized after probably a good minute and a half had gone by that there were no more shots. I was like, okay, I'm probably good to get up and make a move.
These things happen so fast, and you said in your head you weren't sure if it was real or not. I'm assuming you live in the state of Utah as well. You've
Correct.
Likely heard gunshots before, rifle shots, buckshots, whatever it may be.
Oh, yeah.
It was unmistakable that what was happening as it occurred, right? But it happened so fast.
Correct.
I'm sure it could also be confusing.
Yeah, well, and people were just packed in. People were shoulder to shoulder in there. I mean, it was when I first got there, I couldn't even see the stage, and I said, hey, let me try to. It was just me by myself, so I thought, let me try to, maneuver my way down closer to the side, and so that's what I ended up doing. I was just completely, to his left on the side wall, but got about 20 yards away. I mean, there was one person in front of me on the rail.
Yeah, and did the crowd seem welcoming? I mean, we see some red hats there. We know Charlie Kirk was a supporter of the president, one of his most vocal supporters. Was it sort of friendly to Charlie Kirk, or was it hostile?
I would say about 98% friendly. There was a small faction up on a balcony with a trans flag and lots of different rainbow-colored hairdos and interesting-looking characters, let's say, that were kind of barking back and yelling and shouting. But for the most part, I would say 98%, welcoming and friendly.
When we look at this shot right here that we're freezing because we don't want to show the moment that he was shot, but this is maybe a millisecond before that bullet apparently enters his neck. It doesn't look like he has anyone around him. I know you said there were people there that were sort of some kind of security, but at least around him there was no sort of plexiglass, no kind of barrier. I mean, at least we can't see it. What do you remember seeing? Nothing.
I mean, yeah, maybe the closest individual was still, 20 feet away from him. I mean, he was just at his table and his chair, and so I'm actually surrounded by a bunch of SWAT. There's a bunch of SWAT people going through campus right now. I'm inside with a group of people that was pulled inside to, give testimony and stuff like that. So it's
Justin, I do have another question because we don't know this area as well. Some of our viewers may not know this area as well. How far is the closest hospital, would you say, to the school?
Very close, actually. Couple miles. The Utah Valley Medical, it's one of the best hospitals outside of stuff in downtown Salt Lake, and that's just a couple miles away. So it's very close. You can drive there from here. If it's just me stopping at lights, I can get there in 5 minutes.
And then it has an emergency room.
Gotten there. Oh yeah, absolutely.